Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten. In this episode, we're chatting about what is not too far around the corner, and that is 2026. I'm not one to get all crazy about New Year's resolutions or anything like that, and I think it can feel heavy to some when they start thinking about the new year. It's almost like this dread of like, oh my God, the new year, I've got to figure my life out. But I see it as a place where you can reset. You can kind of use it as a redo. I believe in resets throughout the year. And I teach this inside of my collective about resets, like energetic resets, emotional resets, relationship resets, looking at your life and assessing where you're at and pivoting. We need to do this continually if we are wanting to achieve anything meaningful in life, honestly. And as high achieving women, that's how we're kind of oriented, is the goals, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And so I know that's true for me. I love a good goal setting. I sit down and I write down my goals and I write down my intentions and my visions throughout the year. So I really do recommend becoming that person that is continually in that, because what we're doing then is we're casting that vision, which is very important as well. The vision that's aligned with the values. And we're going to be getting into this inside the collective in January. Actually, we're getting into the vision and values for 2026. I'm not all about you just let everything go to hell for the year and then January 1st, you've got to figure your entire life out and revamp everything, your diet, your money, your career, your business, your relationships, your body. You got to lose all this weight and cut out sugar 100% and start fasting. And, we put too many things on the plate at one time. I'm all about creating that vision that is lined up with your values. So if health is one of your highest values, which it is one of mine, then a lot of my vision includes how I'm taking care of myself. My vision includes my service, being of purpose and on purpose, having meaningful work, really getting much better with my finances and learning how to manage and control and create income for myself in ways that really line up with how I want to serve and help. And then other ways that I'm going to plan to do that in 2026 as well. And so really what I wanted to place here is if you're feeling some kind of intense pressure to get it right or get it figured out because 2026 is coming, I want you to reframe it and look at it as, I get to reframe this. It's like a fresh, clean slate, and see it as that instead of seeing it as, oh my God, like a dreadful thing. And so that's what I invite you to step into. And that doesn't mean that we just go to sleep for December and eat all the things and gain 20 pounds and end up not feeling well, and we're foggy in the brain and we're drinking too much alcohol to numb the pain and numb our stress and just find relief. And we're shopping like crazy and spending to compensate for something else. Some of us are compensating, so we feel, for an absent father that isn't in the picture or isn't really a present parent. And so we can feel like we need to overcompensate for their absence. And so we think we need to spend. And then we put ourselves in a stress place with all of that pressure. And we might even use our money to soothe ourselves, to, like I said, make up for some kind of lack that we feel that we're missing or that our children are missing. So we just need to be mindful. I'm all about being really mindful of our emotional state, because when we have had a lifetime of toxic, unhealthy, chaotic love relationships, then we have a problem. This is beyond just accidentally getting caught up with the wrong person and then a few months later you realize it and you leave and you don't repeat it again, and you find someone healthier and realize, oh, I learned from that. You did the work and you moved on, and you don't have a huge level of addiction going on. But for women who have been in these relationships for decades, or they've been in and out of multiple relationships for their lifetimes, this is a very, very big red flag indicator. There's some level of emotional love addiction that's going on underneath the surface. And I know high achieving women, successful women, we don't want to ever identify with being an addict. And I don't want to label anyone. It's not that. But I really know from doing this for so many years as a counselor and coach for 13 years that there's something else going on underneath the surface of why smart, successful women with the financial means to leave continue to stay in these dynamics. And so I want to be your guide for 2026. If you really are ready to break out of these patterns, if you're ready to take ownership, you want 2026 to be different in every way from where you are now, then you have to be doing something different. You have to be able to do something different. And one of my collective ladies, she mentioned that she, like every other woman that comes in, eventually they find me after all the things they've tried, and they find me and they sense something is very different about what I do. And so they jump in, and she said, I was really on the fence because I wanted to join VIP, but I had this voice in my head that I was just going to be putting more money into something that wasn't going to help. But she followed her intuition and has had incredible, incredible shifts within a couple of weeks of joining. And I have so many of these stories over the years. And I think it's just a combination of I have the skills, the expertise, the education, the background. I know what I'm doing, but I've also lived it. I've embodied it because I've lived it and had to come through it myself. And I have a kind of a depth about me. I'm not surface level. And I will just tell you as it is without sugarcoating, not to hurt anyone's feelings, but I always think about it as these women that are offended by me telling them truth that might be hard to hear. And yet they've been tolerating a man that's doing nothing but lying and manipulating them for however long they've been with him. And they're not fully offended by that. They're not pissed off by that and ready to just like rip shit up and get the hell out. They're offended by a woman trying to say, hey, look at your own patterns. And I won't say that women like that are in my paid spaces, because typically women that are coming in to invest in my mentorship, they already know they want the real truth. And they've said to me many times that I've heard it over and over, that they like that no bullshit side of me because it's what they needed to hear. And it's what I needed to hear. And I did not have that necessarily. And it's more people on social media that are like that, which it doesn't matter. I mean, everybody's got comments on social media. I hate it. But it's very common for a woman to push back when I say it's addiction. You have to own your own patterns. You have to take responsibility for the fact that you did not have boundaries. That's all on you. You have to take responsibility for the fact that you have self-abandoned over and over and over and over and over again. And this is not about self-blame and shame. No, it's actually very empowering when you fully get that and go, shit, I really do have to own the fact that I have been a willing participant in this thing the whole time. I keep going back to it. I keep believing he's going to change. I leave and I go back. I leave and I go back, or I find someone else that's a similar person. It's me. You can't blame him for your pain and patterns any more than he can blame you for his. He can't blame you and say, you're the reason why I act this way or why I'm miserable. That wouldn't be fair. And we have to take ownership for that as well. I'm not absolving bad men who don't have integrity and good character and saying they're innocent. I'm not even actually talking about them at all. This conversation isn't even about them because it doesn't matter. And your relationship entanglements are not about them either. This is all about integrity with self. Knowing yourself well enough to know what you want. And sometimes we don't learn this until we've had enough of what we don't want. And so we have to have contrast in life. So you've had the contrast of what you don't want. So now you move into what you do want and you do the work to become that woman that That's the only thing she's going to entertain. There's reciprocity, there's emotional maturity, there's depth. We talk about problems. There's none of this immature blowing up when things need to be addressed, or, avoidance, relationship avoidance. Like a lot of people talk about the attachment theories, which I haven't gone down the rabbit hole in this a whole lot, but I really do not believe in the way that it's taught these days, that we have the same type of attachment issues with an adult romantic partner as we would have as infants when the attachment theory research was first done on parent-child relationships, infant-child relationships. And now they've just kind of slapped it on intimate relationships, which there's lots of issues with that. So why do you want to be with a man that's avoiding love? Why do you want to be with a man who's avoiding intimacy and depth and avoiding you? And then we have to go, why do I like that? Why is that something I'm drawn to? Why is that something that I feel so compelled and glued to and want to fix? And I'm constantly trying to figure out how to get him to not avoid me. Do you see the dysfunction in that? We have to own our own dysfunction. We have to own our own shit. And so when we're going around, and I've been there, the blaming, right? No, it's him, it's him, it's him. Until I had enough of that and had to look at, no, it's actually me. I'm the problem. I'm the one that's abandoning myself. I'm the one that keeps giving it 1,000,001 chances. I'm the one that's believing lies, empty promises, half-assed apologies, manipulation, being gaslit to the highest of heavens to question my own reality. I'm allowing that. We allow it. Yes, we do. We're adults. And I'm not saying the things that you're not aware of are your fault, but it's about understanding that a healthy-minded woman would never tolerate that. So we have to become that woman that is of healthier mind and healthier in wholeness. This means we need to come back to self. We need to do the work where we split off from our authentic self, where there was some trauma that happened in our childhoods, more than one potentially. Oftentimes it's one pretty big one or multiple pretty big ones. It's having sexual abuse in your history. It's having one or both emotionally neglectful parents, and a parent that drank alcohol, one that was very emotionally unavailable, or hot and cold, hit and miss. Maybe you have both parents that had abusiveness to them on an ongoing basis, and there was multiple traumas in there. Then you don't have to go back into that and dig into that. I don't recommend that, actually. And I'm not telling anyone to not do trauma therapy, but I just know for myself, and I've heard others say, it just stirs it all up and it makes it much worse, and it can actually create a psychotic break. So you go in and you have an EMDR session and you go home, and that shit's been opened up. That Pandora's box has been opened up. And without the right support or a touch point, which you don't get with therapy, because therapists are not allowed to, we're told you don't offer support in between sessions. There's reasons why I left that industry, because I felt like it was kind of broken, and I didn't like the fact that if I had a one-on-one client, that I'm not supposed to support her if something happens on the weekend or the week between her coming to see me, because she just worked through something really, really deep. And you're technically not supposed to do that. And most therapists won't. They won't respond to your emails if you're like, hey, I'm struggling here for a second. That was one of the reasons I left, and have created different models for how I work with women, so that they have those support networks in place, so they're never just left hanging. And, we have to be able to do the work, but do it in our present moment time now in practical ways. And we do this by embodiment, coming back into integrity with ourselves, being in our own bodies, being aware of what we're feeling, being aware of how we feel around certain people, being aware of what we need, and when we are feeling triggered, what is going on within, because we have to own that. And again, this is for anyone that's thinking I'm absolving or victim blaming and I'm absolving abusive men and toxic men and manipulative men. No, I'm not. But we cannot change men. We've all tried, and we're in recovery from no longer doing that. We're not doing that anymore. We're not putting more effort into getting a man to behave correctly than he's putting into behaving correctly. Like, screw that. And that's trauma when we are making ourselves sick and crazy, trying to make a man be less toxic. And we don't see the dysfunction in that because it's addiction. It's an addictive pattern. It's not the same as a chemical addiction, like a substance addiction, but it is an addiction. It's an emotional pattern addiction. It's not an addiction to him, although it might seem like it. It's not even about him. And when you really get that, when you get to that aha moment that it's not about him, this is a pattern within you. Our relationships are a mirror for what's going on within. It's a really good way to see where you're at with your healing. A lot of people are on this bandwagon of, I don't need no man. I'm going to just stay single. I don't want any man and all that. And that's fine. But what I've learned is that if you're doing it solo, you can grow and heal and be comfy in your own space because you're not being triggered by anyone. And I'm not saying that there's not a space for that. I do believe that it's very important for a woman after a divorce to live alone, figure her own shit out, learn how to manage a home by herself, whether it's just with her or she's got kids at home, getting really stable and really basking in that freedom of having your own space, having your own home, having your own bed. I am for that. However, we're not going to learn how to grow within intimate relationships in the same way as we might within our work relationships, with our friendships and other family. It's different. The type of triggering that happens within an intimate relationship is not the same as it would with any other relationship. And you've probably found that, and you know that to be true. And so all this to say, we have to take ownership over our own stuff, or we can just keep repeating it and blaming someone else. We can keep blaming toxic narcissistic men and all the ways that they pull the wool over our eyes, control, lie, cheat, trick, fake. There's a lot of women that are really sitting on that, and they're living that. That's how they feel, and they're bitter, and they're angry, and they're aging. If you keep thinking about your ex in any way, if he's an ex, as, oh, the asshole, this, that, and that's how you're talking, you're still gripped into it. You're still in the emotional grip. You know you're not anymore when you can say, just, he's doing what he's doing. He's doing what he does. It is who he is. And I have no feelings about it. And it's not a numbness because you've already done the work to move the emotions. It's more just like, why would I keep giving him my emotional energy? And every time you think about him with any type of negative animosity, anger, resentment, it's actually making you sick. So look at where you're giving someone else the power to upset you. And sometimes women can get this confused with that I'm saying, don't feel your truth, don't feel your emotions, gaslight yourself. No. In fact, I teach all about how to come back into integrity with your emotions. That's like I would say the foundation, the real depth of the work that I have women doing is coming back to themselves, their emotional truth. And so that's important, but we also don't want to allow our emotions, especially when it comes to a toxic, unhealthy, very volatile relationship. We don't want to rely on our emotions in that regard. Because look where it gets you. It keeps you in those addictive emotional cycles. So we need to have emotional sobriety when it comes to men if we have a pattern of settling in and getting hooked into unhealthy cycles. So if this resonates and you are ready to make 2026 the year that you finally decide, you're ready to make a decision, you've been on this fence for a very long time, and you are ready to do something different that you have not done before that is actually going to get you to that decision quicker, then get inside of the collective. We are open right now at the time of this episode for a short period, and then I don't know when I'll be opening it again. It might be sometime in January up till this point where I am opening it up again. And the prices are going to just keep going up because of the level of proximity you're getting. You're getting one-on-one answers to your questions. You're getting daily mini broadcasts that I have just finished asking the women in the group. Is the daily broadcast helpful for you? Is it too much? Is it too many things on top of the coursework you're also doing? Because you also get my program for breaking emotional addiction in love relationships. And they all said the same thing, that it is so transformational to have those reminders in my voice every day of the week that they can listen quickly in between things to stay on the path. So you get that. You get my course. You get 3 times weekly Q&A in the VIP level. And if you are in the VIP level and you want the one-on-one edition, you can do that as well. So I have varying levels. Check out the link in the show notes to check that out. If you're listening to this after the fact and I've closed it, there will be an opportunity to get on the wait list for the next cohort, for the next registration period. And so just enter your info and that will take you there. The other thing that I have is a taster of where do you start? So you might be hearing this and going, oh, this does kind of sound like me and I'm really wanting more. I'm really ready to make this coming year the year I figure this out. I make a decision and I get this sorted. If you're in that space where you're done with all the things that don't work, like therapy, books, YouTube, trying to talk to him 100 million times more, then if you go to the link in the show notes, there's a link to get into my email list, which will get you my mini class to break the emotional grip and some other resources that are going to help you immediately to start planting those seeds for 2026. So you can take the class, you'll get an email series with snippets and bites of transformational tips and things that I have going out. And this helps you to plant the seeds for January. Don't let December be the month where you just let it all go and say screw it. And I'm not saying don't lay back and relax and enjoy your holiday. Absolutely not. In fact, do take some intentional time to do that. But I'm very much about I'm planting seeds for what I want in the coming year. I'm already doing that. I'm already setting some intentions for the things that I want. Like on my Christmas wish list, one of the things that were on it was a weighted vest. I could have got that for myself, but I added it to my list because one of my intentions is I'm going to get more fit and build my bone density, because that's something that perimenopausal women and menopausal women need to be thinking about, and getting enough exercise with weight-bearing activity. And so that's a seed I'm planting. I'm planting seeds for my collective and where we're going with that, and putting out the plan for the January, February focus. I have other things going on in my business as well. So I am really about, all right, let's plant the seeds now that are going to be fruitful, and we're going to hit the ground running in January with a whole new kind of momentum that's exciting, that actually feels like relief. That's the one thing that I would say is the common emotion and feeling and sense women get when they finally find me and they come in, because it's all divine. I believe that the women that find me and that make that quick decision, a lot of times they make that quick decision that's like, I haven't even hardly been around very long and I just know I want to work with you. There's something about you that is resonating, and that's how it works. And because I'm not for everyone, and not everyone will invest in mentorship, and that's fine. That's what this podcast is for. is to offer something for everyone, but the women that invest get huge dividends in return. And so if you are in that place where you're ready to plant your seeds so you can get that momentum going, what I was saying before I lost my train of thought there is that when I think about all of the years I've done this work and what I think I provide for women when they come in after trying everything else and they're just at wit's end, is relief. It's emotional relief that they get instantly. And it's probably got a lot to do with the way I teach, because I'm not just telling you all about what's wrong. I'm giving you pathways for emotional relief now. Because no, you can't change everything overnight. And leaving doesn't break the pattern. This is a misconception. Leaving a toxic relationship does not break the pattern within you. Unless you do the work. Unless you do the healing work to break that part of you that becomes addicted to the avoidance, addicted to the intermittent love or attention, addicted to the validation. And then when it's pulled away, you go through withdrawal and you need it again. It's your hit. You have to get that right, or it will just keep repeating into next year, into the year after that. It will look just like all the years past. So if you are truly ready to have 2026 be your year, I am there. I feel like 2026 is going to be my year, because my God, it's been years of just a whole lot of breaking down to build back up. And I'm here for the women who are ready to step into that new era, that new identity, the new way of living the next half of life, especially if you're in your 40s. We have to think differently at this age. And we have to think about what it is we want for the next half of our lives. And we want to be healthy. We want to go into the next half of our lives healthy and able to do life and be with our kids and experience the things we want to do. And we cannot do that when we're in a relationship that's literally taking days, weeks, years off of our lives that we won't be here to spend it with those loved ones. That's my biggest motivation for everything I do, is how long can I be here in a healthful way for my kids? I don't really care about experiencing necessarily things for myself, because I think about it like, this might sound morbid, but I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm not going to remember the trip I did in Italy by myself, but my kids will. If I get to do something like that with them, they will carry that on and they will always have that. My motivation is my kids, and they always have been since day one for everything. They have been my life. And some people think that's so bad. That's so codependent. No, it's that I have been a mother that's been dedicated to my children and being the best I can be. Not perfect. Definitely made mistakes. Definitely would like a redo on some things. But my desire and deep desire has always been to do better, to do better, to do better for them, so that I can leave something behind, a legacy. And this is something that's very deeply personal to me, and this might resonate with you as well. And this also can come up when you're thinking about leaving and you're thinking, well, I don't want to do this to my kids. But what we don't recognize is that when we are not being the adults and choosing what's right for the kids, not based on our own discomfort of the guilt we might feel for breaking up a family, which you're not, you are doing what you have to do for yourself. We're not thinking about, maybe what I need to be thinking is I'm leaving for them, because the longer I stay in this, the more damage it's going to do for them. You're not doing them any favors by trying to make something work that is making you sick, that's creating so much toxicity in your home, and you can see it in your kids. If you're honest with yourself, you see it. You think it's other things, or you tell yourself it's other things why they're behaving the way that they do, or why they always have tummy aches or headaches, or they don't want to go to school, or they have anxiety, or they're not sleeping well. They don't want to go to bed. They don't want to leave you. They have separation anxiety. And we just think, oh, this is normal. Not seeing, oh my God, like this is just them reacting. How else could they react to this? And when you are wanting to do every single thing for your children to the point where I'm going to stay in this relationship that is taking me down every day, down a path I don't want to go on, and I'm doing it for them, we tell ourselves, until we wake up and realize, actually, what I need to do is leave for them, because I want to make sure I'm here as long as possible for them. And I want to minimize as much damage that this dynamic is doing to them. So I'm not going to let this drag out. I'm not going to continue to let this drag out. I saw a clip Oprah was doing of an interview with a parenting expert, a psychologist. I don't know. I just saw one of those reels. It's a clip and it struck me. And it was that parents often think that it's easier on older kids to get a divorce, which I think I did have that misconception as well. But it makes sense. What they were saying is that when they're older, they have had this whole lifetime of their parents together, and suddenly everything just changes rapidly after a whole life. You know, if they're even adolescent, they've known their whole life with holidays together, Christmases together, the family is together, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's different. The parents are with new people, two different households, maybe one parent is more absent. Things change very quickly, and then they have to adapt to their whole life blowing up, just like we do with a divorce. Our whole life is blowing up. And so I don't know that there is a perfect time, but I guess what I would say is, if you know things are going down and you know this is not a good situation, but you can't seem to emotionally equip yourself to get out, you have the resources financially, you're working, you have that financial stability, and you're not leaving, that's who I'm more speaking to. If you don't have that financial stability, then that needs to be your number one priority for 2026. My God, you can't do anything without money. You got to get your own money. But I'm talking about women that I work with that already have that going. Then you need to make a decision instead of sitting on it and just riding it out, because it's doing damage every single day you do that, to you, to the kids, to everything, to your health. And if you are someone that one of your highest values is your children and family, then you have to think about it in the sense that I want to be the healthiest that I can be for them. There's nothing you can do about what's already happened. You got to let the past go and now say to yourself, how am I going to show up to the best of my ability from this day forward, from now on? And then dedicate yourself to that. And if you want support and mentorship with that, get inside the collective. All right, that's what I have for you in this edition. I hope that this has been exactly what you needed to hear and that you've gotten something out of this. If you've not already done so, please take one moment to leave a rating and review of this show. If you love it, if it's helped you, if it's given you some inspiration or shifted your mind in any way, please leave me a written review on iTunes with the 5-star review. If you're listening on Spotify, just leave me a 5-star. I really would appreciate that. And as always, if you feel compelled to share this episode and just say, hey, this is really important for all women to listen to, and just help me spread the word about the show. If you know any other high-powered women who maybe are not so happy in their relationship, or just sharing it in your story with saying, I'm just spreading the word, I came across this show in case anybody needs this now. You don't need to say, hey, I'm in this relationship. You know, this is where the work I do, it's kind of funny because not a lot of people are going to be sharing what I'm doing. Like, all of the growth that I have had has been basically organic. Like, I don't run Facebook ads or social media ads. I've dabbled in it here and there with really just, I'm not saying there isn't a place for it, but I don't do that. And I grew my Instagram following without any of that. That was all organic. But there, people do share my posts. I see there's a lot of shares a lot of times, but some things get none because women are like, I don't want to share this and identify with this because people will think I'm saying this is me, and they're in hiding. And so it can be kind of challenging to ask you to share the podcast, but it really does help, because there could be a woman that's following you or you're connected to in some way on social media that's dealing with this now and needs this information. So that's a way to pay it forward, to help another woman out in kind of a more of a passive way without saying, hey, I'm in this too, or I have been. Maybe if you have been, you can say, hey, I don't want any woman to ever live in this situation blindly and not know what she's experiencing. Check this out. I would really appreciate that as a way of reciprocity. I've been recording on this show for 9 years. I've been recording on the show for 6 of those, specifically for awakening women, helping them break these toxic cycles. I don't know how many hours I've dedicated to this for free. So these are ways that you can give back and really, really offer some reciprocity in exchange. And I would really appreciate that. All right. Bye for now.